let's talk Wicked for good. And when I say talk about Wicked for good, I mean ramble incoherently, because who needs a well-structured review when you can watch this? The Wicked movies have felt like a roller coaster. I don't think I have ever felt like the entirety of the world stop for a musical movie like we have done for Wicked. It's been like this cultural phenomenon, this absolute wave that we've just all been riding for the past like 2 years, really, if you think about like the build up towards that first film as well. And now we have the concluding part. We have Wicked for good. And I've got to be honest, I was extremely excited about this film because of how well they handled part one, but there was always that voice in the back of my mind being like, Ellie, the reason you've never really loved Wicked is because of the second part. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay because they've got more time. They can build upon it. They can change things. But I have to say, I like this a lot more than I like the second half of the stage show. But I don't like it as much as I like that first film. So, what are my thoughts on Wicked for Good? Welcome to my ramble review. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets, rankings, game shows, and so much more. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps the channel. But let's dive in to Wicked for Good. I'm literally just gonna throw out thoughts and opinions. I have like I've done like, you know, those spider diagrams. I've done a spider diagram, and I don't know where my thoughts start and end. But I guess the first thing to kind of say is that Wicked for Good is good. It's in the title, and that's how I feel about it. I wish I could say like I walked out of it and I was like, yes, I felt so excited and so rejuvenated by Wicked as I did with that first film, because Wicked Part 1 kind of made me fall in love with Wicked in a way that I haven't really fallen in love with that musical. But I also think that's because it's not really burdened by the things that hold Wicked back a little bit, which is the second half. I think the first thing I'll say about Wicked for Good is that everything that I like about the first film in terms of the creative idea, the reasoning behind splitting the films into two, the direction from John M. Chu, the performances, all still top notch. Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, fantastic, fantastic central leads. With this one feeling like it leans a lot more to giving Ariana her time to shine. This one, even though I think the musical doesn't really feel like this film feels a lot more like Glinda's story. You get a lot of like glimpses into her perspective. You get a lot of the flashbacks to her childhood in a similar kind of reflective way if you look at how they handle it in the first film, where you flash back to Elphaba's childhood. We get that with Glinda now. It's a lot about her journey from that cog in the machine of the wizard to actually becoming the good witch, finding her own voice and actually managing to do good. I like that. I like that how this film actually feels like it's more of Glinda's arc. And honestly, I'm gonna be kind of gutted if Ariana Grande isn't at least nominated for an Oscar. I know they were nominated last year, both of them, but come on. Come on. But also, we get some other performances here that really shine. Ethan Slater. Ethan Slater. You all were clowning on this man last year. You were all giving it, listen, Nessa, and where are you now? Are you sat watching him give the performance of a lifetime? I'll bet you are. Ethan Slater pulled that Act 2 Bok out of the bag. Like, I did not expect that one of my favourite parts of this film would be Ethan Slater, but his Tin Man is terrifying. It's like the stare he gives to Glinda on that balcony. Chills. Goosebumps. I'm scared. It's just like so full of fury and anger. It's like, it's so good. It's so raw. And like I said a lot in my video when I was talking about hopes and fears, I really wanted a bit of grit in this film, like go into the darker places. And I got all of that from Ethan Slater. That Tin Man was gritty. It might be the rust, but he's gritty. But I think it's genuinely true that the cast get amazing moments to shine here. Jonathan Bailey does a great job as Fiyero. That arc that you get and like building upon where he's left at the end of that first film, because while I love that, you can kind of tell his story is very incomplete by the end of the first part of Wicked. Like, he's kind of left as like a hanging thread a bit. He doesn't really get that proper conclusion. Whereas it feels like Morrible, the Wizard, Galinda, Elphaba, like all of those characters and like the central characters, especially characters that you see in the Emerald City, actually get like a final point and a final stand and take their stance. Saying that, Jeff Goldblum, absolutely bonkers as the Wizard, and I loved every second of it. And Michelle Yeoh, I love her. I love her. They really should have cut her singing. Because the thing about Michelle Yeoh is that she is so good as Morrible. Like, the actual like character beats as Morrible and like the additional content that she gets through this is so good. Like, she knows how to play out that villain. She really takes the Madame Morrible to the Wicked Witch, as she's been saying on all her press tours. And also, I see you, Paul Tazwell. That first outfit that she's wearing, the Emerald City outfit that she starts the film in, is very Death Becomes Her. Like, literally, with the, like, dazzled jewelry going all the way up and down, it looks exactly like the dresses at the end of Death Becomes Her. Paul Tazwell, I see you. But I think she really fleshes out Morrible, which is why it's so sad that just let her speak the lines. You've changed the bits that she sings anyway. Honestly, Madame Morrible, just the biggest stirrer in this film. It's like every 5 seconds she's just like, do you hear what the Wicked Witch said? Do you hear what the Wicked Witch said? She said this, she said that. She's here, there, and everywhere. She's kidnapped your children. She's poisoned the water supply. She's this Wicked Witch. So yeah, performances, I think, were all as consistent from the first part to the second part. I think John and Chu's direction and like the choices, it's very clear. You can see, just as you could in the first part, his love and care for the original source material and how he's adapting it and how he's molding it. I also feel like, in general, allowing this to be its own film as well is still a good idea. But I just feel that part 2 struggles to stand up on its own as much as part 1 did. I'm honestly really glad that I watched this at the double bill. So I watched Wicked Part 1 and then went straight, based after 13 minutes, into Wicked Part 2. Because I think if I had watched this on its own, I would have been less enthralled. This one definitely reads as a companion piece, whereas I think you can watch Wicked Part 1 on its own and it stands up. This one, you need to watch Part 1 as well. It's kind of there to be watched in conjunction with it. I think it's really interesting what they use the extra time for as well, because we've got a lot of stuff in this film that is new. There's new songs, there's new reprises, there's things built up, there's characters in scenes that they've never been in before, but it feels like they add to the wrong half of this second act of Wicked, because all of these changes, well, the majority of these changes are very much focused on the first part of the story, where it's always been when the story kind of intersects and connects with the Wizard of Oz, where the problems and the plot holes kind of arise. And when we get to that point in the film, everything kind of runs as usual. That's not to say I don't like the additions that they put in to the first half of the film. I actually really enjoyed them because there's a lot of focus on Glinda here. There's obviously her extra parts in the story. I like how they introduce Alphabet a lot earlier, and they really build up Every Day More Wicked, so it becomes an actual proper song and gives you that kind of placement and sets up that time jump a little bit stronger. Because there is something about Act 2 of Wicked that I was a little bit concerned about, is that you don't see Elphaba for a little while into that act, because you got, thank goodness, that starts it off. So it's only really when you get to Nessa that you see Elphaba for the first time. Whereas this film sets her up a lot earlier. I mean, literally, she gets the opening scene. Every Day More Wicked has a reprise of The Wizard and I for her. And then you get to see where Glinda's left off. you get a reprise of the group dynamic from What Is This Feeling? And you have the Emerald City Guard singing the Lars from Popular, which is honestly camp. It's so camp. Is it as strong an opening as No One Mourns the Wicked? Nowhere near, but I do like it, and it's a nice kind of like catch-up point. But the biggest changes, and the ones that I kind of enjoy the most, is the meeting between Galinda and Elphaba. They meet in the Emerald City. Elphaba comes over after the whole stuff with Nessa, which we'll speak about in a little bit. Again, I'm not structuring this video at all. And the sequence where she normally goes to meet the wizard on her own, and you get Wonderful, you end up getting an interaction between Elphaba and Glinda a lot earlier than you do in the stage show, where it kind of feels like they're a lot more at each other's necks. You actually get a moment within that show where Glinda essentially gives an offer to Elphaba along with the wizard that kind of mirrors and counters the offer in Defying Gravity. They even do a little reprise during Wonderful that is of Defying Gravity. That dreams the way we plan them if we work in tandem. That whole little section there is reprised, and it's from Glinda's perspective, and that's really clever. Honestly, I just really enjoyed. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but I really enjoy how they bring Glinda into Wonderful, because it kind of recenters that whole song, and honestly gives a better reason of why Elphaba is swayed a bit more to the wizard's side. And it's that friendship and that kinship that she feels for Glinda, along with the wizard's kind of lies and extravagance, that does the trick here. So you end up having these really nice moments in the musical where you can see that relationship between Elphaba and Glinda feel strong again. You see it at its peak, like you get it during Popular and One Short Day, and those final moments of the film in Defying Gravity, once again, before things fracture. I mean, it's so interesting how they take some of the dialogue from the cornfield scene in the stage show and move it a lot earlier. These lines of dialogue that on stage were read with this more sour inflection, this spat and this argument, oh, we all can't come and go by bubble, can we? Suddenly become more of like an in-joke. They become a lot warmer. This first meeting between friends. See, it's little things like this where I feel like the stage show is missing things like this. They're really strong and great changes that cement a lot of the character arcs of this musical. Bring in all these ideas and just neaten them up and make this film feel a lot more complete as a journey in its own right. The musical doesn't always have to focus on these little things because you've had Defying Gravity and you've had Act 1 like, what, 20 minutes ago? So it doesn't feel as necessary and urgent, but with this extra time, they've been able to develop that. It's just so weird to me that we get all of that at this point, and it feels like they kind of just follow the beat by beat of the second half. Like, I feel like the second the house comes down from Kansas, it kind of follows the same rhythm of the stage show, albeit with the addition of Girl in the Bubble. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention it as part of this, but it's the whole animal stampede during the wedding. We see a lot more of Elphaba's actions and her stance against the wizard directly affecting Glinda and her happiness. And you have that moment at the wedding where it's completely ruined, and then, like, that's one mark against her, and then suddenly Fiyero leaves to go with Elphaba, and she realizes that Fiero's never loved her, and it's that moment where everything kind of comes crashing down for her, allowing a really great build-up, and I think even an even stronger emotional reaction for her version of I'm Not That Girl. And honestly, I think this is another reason why it feels so much like Glinda's story throughout this film, is because a lot of this additional material that added in is kind of surrounding her and giving her more of a presence and more of a relationship with Elphaba through this story and seeing more of their relationship develop. But then, on the other hand, we have the connections to the Wizard of Oz. And this is a little bit more hit and miss, but I feel like it's for the exact same reasons that the stage show is hit and miss. First one, I like how they handled Dorothy. She is more of a presence in the film than she is in the stage show, in the simple matter that we see her. I mean, we'd seen her in the trailers, we knew she was going to be here, and I'm very glad that they kept it as minimal as they could. Honestly, I think if we saw more of Dorothy, it wouldn't have worked, especially because you're trying to humanize Elphaba and all of these characters so much that if you give Dorothy too much of a presence, you're going to make her too much of a character, and that link kind of doesn't translate. Like, girl could absolutely hear for good sitting in that basement, and she still decided to kill Elphaba. Like, if you put a face to that character, that she's the real Wicked Witch. Forget Madame Morrible, she's the Wicked Witch. The only like part of the intersection storyline that they really build upon is adding the Cowardly Lion. This connects very much to Elphaba's new song, which is fine. I can't remember the melody of it at all, but I do think it's a nice additional moment in the film. I wasn't expecting it to be this. I was expecting it to kind of be a reflection before she goes back to Nessa and going back to what was her home, with it being titled No Place Like Home and coming just before those Nessa and Box scenes. I thought that was going to be what it was going to be about, but instead we get this scene where Elphaba sees all of these animals fleeing Oz. Something the musical doesn't really touch on much, because the only animal character we really see is Dr. Dillamond, who leaves halfway through Act 1. I actually really enjoy the scene here. I think the scene is really important and a really nice addition. I just don't think the song is that great, and I don't think it stands up as much to the material. I was a little bit worried going in that the songs in this film would be like that. They're not bad, they're not atrocious, and I think they do kind of justify their place in a certain sense, but I was hoping for a little bit more, but hey-ho. And it kind of feels like Elphaba manages to rally the animals to help her fight the wizard, and then the Cowardly Lion comes in. Now, in the musical, we don't really know what the Cowardly Lion thinks. The only time we see the lion in the stage show, who is the lion cub that is released by Elphaba and Fiyero at the school in the first act, is during March the Witch Hunters, where Bok, as the Tin Man, kind of pulls a lion's tail from offstage on and tries to make the Cowardly Lion say something to the crowd, to the witch hunters, and he doesn't say anything. So in the stage show, it's kind of left ambiguous what the lion's opinions are. Whether he blames Elphaba, whether he understands Elphaba, whether he has an opinion at all. The film is a lot more set in what the lion thinks, and he is very anti-Elphaba. He convinces all the animals to leave because Elphaba abandoned him in the forest, and blames her for taking him away from his only home, which is the cage. I don't know how I feel about this, especially because that's really the only scene we get that gives us any moments with the lion. And if he is like this anti-Elphaba, why doesn't he leave Oz at this moment? Like, I honestly wonder if this asks more questions than it answers, and maybe on a rewatch and like engaging with it more, I'd kind of dwell on it or mellow on it, but it feels like them trying to answer something and honestly opening up more questions in the wake of it. But it still feels like we've got the same kind of timelines and the kind of problematic timelines from the musical still here. I'm not sure they quite fix or neaten up some of the issues with this section, which is so strange when they put a lot of time and care and energy into adding and building to the story in the first half of the film. It kind of feels like they did all their changes for the first half and then went, oh no, we're going to make this film 5 hours long if we keep changing things. We'll just keep the rest of it as is, it's fine. But there is one more change that we haven't spoken about, and this is the other new song, The Girl in the Bubble, which is fine. Again, I don't really like either of these new songs. I like the idea behind both of them, and that's the really annoying thing. It's annoying because I like the placement of both of these numbers, and I like the idea behind adding them, but I think it's kind of the case where they're both slow ballads And because of this, they slow down the pace of the film a little bit and struggle to be as memorable as some of the material that we know and love from the stage show. And Girl in the Bubble kind of suffers for this a little bit by its placement. I like the idea of it being here as a realization moment for Glinda as she sees this crowd and this march of witch hunters going to essentially kill her friend, realizing what Madame Morrible and the other people around her and the people she's aligned herself with have done, and having that moment of self-reflection and realization. I think those are all poignant emotions that could really come through the song. I just don't know if the song does an incredibly good job at cementing that or exploring that. I think it's one that I want to take a re-listen to and really dive into those lyrics and try and get a better understanding for on repeat viewings. But yeah, it's a shame. It was one of my fears that I wasn't really going to like either of the new songs, and yeah, I didn't. But in general, I do like a lot of the original material here. There's a lot of great ideas in cinematography, like there were in the songs from the first half, but I have to admit, I do tend to like how they've blocked the songs in the first half a lot more than I like how they've done it in the second half. I think especially watching these films back to back, the sequences that more so stand out in my mind over something like No Good Deed or Thank Goodness and Couldn't Be Happier are songs like Defying Gravity. And that really epic sequence in that tower, building all the way to the top, the camera spinning around them. Even the more fun, lighter moments, like What Is This Feeling? The really tight choreography and those really fun moments. It feels like there's not as much of that in here. I feel like a lot of the visual elements of how they bring this to life on screen didn't scratch that same itch, I can't lie. But that might also be because I know how they've staged it, I've looked at that more and more. I feel like it's something I'm going to soften on a bit more on rewatches. I think you get the best moments in things like No Good Deed. I think I really hyped that one up in my head because I was admittedly disappointed by No Good Deed after I watched it, but also I think in my head I expected a lot more than was possible. And I think there's some really lovely moments within that. The kind of smoky flashbacks to Nessa, Dillamond, Fierro, the cornfield rising up, the transformation of Elphaba's outfit into the more wicked witch one, the spanning nature of Kimako. That's not how you pronounce it. I'm tired. Fierro's castle that Elphaba goes to, how she walks for that building, the design of that as well, with those huge open sections, the spiraling staircases, some really great design there. I think the other thing about it, and the reason I might not be as enthralled by it, is because, well, I did ask for this film to be darker, and it's darker, but I meant tonally, not darker visually. Because I'm thinking about a lot of that imagery from the first film when you're in Shears and these sequences, and they're so bright and colourful and vibrant. And I think that's maybe what I'm missing. I do think we get that in a sequence like Thank Goodness, but I do think with the way that Wicked goes in the second half, you don't really get as many moments for that. I mean, even a song like As Long As You're Mine is very dark, very dimly lit, I should say, with her long flowing cardigan drape thing. And it's not like there's not great touches in there. One of the moments I really, really liked is how they do Couldn't Be Happier. These moments where Glinda is really starting to reflect, and you have that confetti in the background kind of stalling, really slowly falling. And then when she snaps back into that character, when she brings it back into Thank Goodness, and happy is what happens when all your dreams come true, it's suddenly pouring down again. Really lovely touch. That's like just that small little detail that really stylizes. Because if you've been following the channel for a while, and I haven't said it in this ramble review, but there's two things that I think are really important when you make adaptation of a musical, and one of those is very much around stylization to try and get that suspense of disbelief on screen, which is a little bit easier, admittedly, for something like Wicked that is set in this kind of fantasy world, but you want that language of filmmaking to kind of take the realism out of it that you often get in film, so it doesn't feel as jarring or weird when they're kind of breaking into song, allowing the language of filmmaking to kind of soften that a bit and make it feel a bit more natural within the non-naturalism. And it can just be little touches like that that really build upon that. And that's something I really enjoyed, how they did it and how they staged things in the first film. I don't think I got as much in the second film. It feels so funny how much I'm like jumping around the film for this video. This is what happens when you don't structure things. Let's go all the way back, because I realise I haven't spoken too much about Nessa and the changes that they make to her storyline. It's very interesting how they've approached Nessa, because that character has always been played on stage by a non-disabled actor, which is a little bit upsetting, especially when we look at Broadway and we look at theatre and how poor the disabled representation has been throughout the years. It is really sad, and quite often a reason that is levied for casting non-disabled actors in that role is the storyline of Nessa. The storyline she kind of blames her disability for her unhappiness in many ways, and her relationship with Bok not working. And Elphaba's spell allows her to stand up and walk by herself again. These ideas feel a little bit outdated, and it's nice to see them address some of this and change that storyline a little bit in the film to address that, changing it and changing the focus. So instead of it being about her disability, it's more so recapturing that feeling that she had in the Osdurst Ballroom, which manifests with her floating in the air, that kind of feeling of joy. Elphaba just trying to make her sister feel happy again. But of course, it's not good enough, because what she wants is this person who simply doesn't love her. It's a very simple change, just a small change, that I do wonder if they're going to bring eventually to the stage show. It's not a change that would be very difficult to bring to the stage, honestly, and would most likely allow them to properly cast disabled actors in that role. I mean, since the first film came out, since they were filming this and putting this together, we now have a disabled actress, a wheelchair user, playing that role full-time on Broadway, with the difference from screen and stage being that the storyline has stayed the same because they have cast a actress who can stand out of her wheelchair for short periods of time. And yes, finally, we have a recorded version of Wicked Witch of the East. I think this is honestly a great moment to talk about those transformations, because we see this twice through the film, with the transformation of Bok into the Tin Man and Fiyero into the Scarecrow. We never, properly see, the full transformation, but we see, little glimpses and hints towards it. Especially with Fiero's one, because they try and keep this more subtle and more hidden. But the really impactful one is that transformation into the Tin Man, where you see these silver pieces on the tray that Bok was carrying in to Nessa start to wrap and clank around his hands and his arms. It looks painful in many ways. It's horrific. And that's all I want to see. That's the grit. That's the grit. Honestly, that Tin Man design is so good. Even the metal teeth as well, giving him more of a snarl. The hat that he wears in the flashback scene being reminiscent of the hat that he ends up wearing as the Tin Man. Oh god. Oh, it's so sad. Honestly, it's so baffling how much they cooked with Tin Man. Let's look at the two kind of misses with design for me. Number one is the one that everyone is talking about. It's Scarecrow. Now, I don't think this one is helped very much with the angles that we see it from, but Fiero's Scarecrow does kind of just look like Jonathan Bailey had a piece of fabric glued to his face. And I know that they kind of want to make it look softer, but I think it's really funny when you look at how much they transformed Ethan Slater into the Tin Man. He's barely recognizable. And then you see Fiero and it's just Jonathan Bailey in a mask. But I also find it so funny because he looks so much better in all the videos and photos they have on social media. Everything that's being posted from Jonathan Bailey and Cynthia Erivo and on like the Wicked social pages looks a lot better. So I don't know if it's just like the close-up that they get on Jonathan Bailey in that first reveal scene. I wonder if that was shot from a little bit further away to kind of give us more of like a full perspective on it. Would have been a little bit better. And the other miss is young Jeff Goldblum. Now, the Hollywood de-aging trend has led to many an uncanny valley. Like, Marvel has been doing it for ages, Star Wars has done it for ages. We've had, like, dead performers have their faces completely CG'd, and it's always looked a little bit weird. And the second we started to see the flashback of the have another drink of green elixir, I got worried. I got scared. I was hoping they were just going to stylize it out, and then we saw for like 2 seconds that young Jeff Goldblum, who kind of looks like the frozen Disney animatronics in America, where they've got like the screen faces. It didn't even look like it was properly layered onto his face, which I know is just me over exaggerating because we saw it for like 2 seconds, but it was very uncanny. But I think in every other aspect, the design work on this film absolutely slaps. I love this take on the bubble dress. I was a little bit upset from the first film. I was like, oh, we're only getting like the pink dresses. We're only getting like these ones, and we're not getting like the variety that we get on stage with Glinda's looks. But throughout this whole film, we get that gorgeous blue bubble dress with the poofy collar sleevey things up the top, the gorgeous sheer fabric going down into that ball gown. It looks so good. It looks so good. Elphaba's like proper Wicked Witch look from No Good Deed onwards, like the sleeveless look, that's my favourite. As I said, Tin Man, so good. Horrific in the perfect ways. Morrible is serving fashion at every turn, as she should. I also love how the Emerald City has the little touches of pink throughout, so you can see how they're like promoting Glinda and how they're Glinda-ifying the Emerald City and that blend of the green and pink. Even with like the bullet train to the Emerald City being now coloured pink as well. Like all of these set pieces, so good. Once again, they killed it with the production design and the costume, and how they bring the world of Oz to life in these films has been nothing short of stunning. Now, before I get to the most obvious thing to end with in this ramble, I will address one more thing. I said in my Hopes and Fears video, if I ended up liking the March of the Witch Hunters, I would go over there and start groveling to John M. Chu, and I don't know. I feel like it's about the same. Like, I think it's about as good. But what I will say is that Ethan Slater absolutely kills it in it. So I guess I gotta go over there and, like, bow to Ethan Slater, I guess. Because, like, the anger and the vitriol that he has for Elphaba in that song, oh god, you feel it. So you know what, I'll give you like a half one. I feel like I have to like dwell on it and sit on it for a full review when I eventually talk about both films in conjunction with each other and look at it as one whole thing. Whether I will give the full grovel, but I'll give you like a little taster. So for Ethan Slater and John M. Chu, here is your like half kneel and grovel for March of the Witch Hunters. It was okay. It was good. I liked it more than the stage show version. And I actually quite like how it like starts, and then you get Girl from the Bubble, and then you get like the end of it. So it's like that whole like journey throughout it, and you get a little sense for Glinda. But yeah. But let's talk about the end section of the film. Let's talk for good. It's so good. It's so good. And I think the main thing about it is, honestly, it's just carried by how good Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are. It's their gorgeous performances that carry it. The emotions that they're feeling. That scene afterwards, where like Elphaba goes and prepares for the end, and they've got like that door, and like they're crying behind the door, like they're David Tennant and Rose Tyler in Doctor Who. The cinematic parallels, they're rhyming. Honestly, for all this film's flaws, it's just so worth it to get this version of For Good. It feels like a lot of the film is building towards that, and I think they just allow that moment to be. They allow that to really come from the emotions of these characters, for the portrayals from these actresses. The mirrors to Defying Gravity with the camera turning around them. I love it. I love it. And just to end it, let's dwell on that finale, how they bring it all together. I love the reference to the poster as well, that little touch. I honestly quite like the moment of Glinda fully accepting herself as Glinda the Good, with the Grimmery kind of opening up for her as well. That's a really interesting addition. Again, this film very much feels like Glinda's story. It very much feels like it's focusing on a lot of her growth and her development. And so her place in this world and her way of changing Oz for good. I like how they build it up and they show that and they really give moments. They kind of split the wizard and Morrible scenes into their own moments for Glinda to have her time to stand up and fight back against this regime she's kind of been in and bring about the change that she wants to bring in Oz. I think it's a nice way to adapt that finale into a nice summation of the mission statements of this film. So, on the whole, I do like Wicked for Good. There's a lot here that I really, really enjoy. I don't think it's as strong as a slam dunk as that first film, but I think it was adapting a much easier act to adapt. This one, short, feels a little bit more uneven, but I still think it's very strong, and I think it works a lot better when watched alongside that first part, when you can really enjoy both of them together and see this as one full picture. As I said, I want to take a look at these films together and do like a really nice structured breakdown of both of these films. Give it the time it deserves because you can tell how much love and care has gone into this project from all of the people working on it. I think the fact that this feels like such a big event is a testament to their work. So while this isn't as strong, I do think it does stick the landing. I could be a little bit happier, but I still say thank goodness. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on Wicked for Good? What are your thoughts on the Wicked movies on the whole? And I hope my rambling was coherent enough for you. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now and a link to my Instagram you'd like to drop me a follow over there. And a huge thank you to all of my channel members whose names are on screen right now. Thank you for supporting the channel. But that's it for me today, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye.